Okay, I forgot to turn it on, Eddie, but we talked about contour lines, which are equal lines of elevation that make topography maps or contour interval maps. Now we're talking about pedology. This is not necessarily in the book, although it does have one section, so let's go to that page. I think it's 65, I believe. 64 and 65. Yeah, go to 64 and 65. So on 64 and 65, it's looking at what pedologists do. So then you might know the answer now. Who thinks they know the answer? I'll tell you, this word, when you see PED,
it is study children.
that's foot. Foot.
Tommy, that's your profession.
Me and Tommy are fluent.
That means foot. But it's not the study of feet.
It's study of children's feet.
Bogus.
Oh, that's the soil.
Study of soil, or the science of soil. So pedology is the science of soil. The person that studies it would be called a what? A pedologist.
A pedo.
Why would somebody want to study soil?
The soil is cute.
We're good places to place crop is.
Where you can plant stuff. We're fertile. Fertile ground.
Because it impacts your entire society.
Society really wasn't in our class.
Okay? Now, the Russians came up with this system a long time ago. Now they have many more different zones or types of soil. Okay? Basically, there are three major parts of a soil. I think your book might break it down into four, but okay, so if you cut soil off in half and you dig it down, you're going to see three major layers. The first layer is the most important layer. What's it called?
Topsoil.
Why is it the most important?
Because that's
part?
where all the plants get like their baby plants.
That's where all the plants grow. Okay? This also determines whether your soil is fertile or not. What makes the soil fertile?
Humus.
Animals.
Plants.
The different chemicals that are in it make it fertile. Okay? If it's naturally fertile, it is from humus. Humus, okay? I told you this the other day, what is it?
It's volcanic. It's volcanic action.
It's dead
Humans.
plants and animals. Could be humans, but we're animals.
I don't think you were going to plant on a
We're stronger.
Dead plants and animals decompose, they release their nutrients into the soil, which makes it fertile. So the more humus in the soil, the more fertile it's going to be.
So I can kill a rabbit and.
So if you go to like the hardware store or garden center, people are going to plant plants in a pot, or whether they put some in their garden, they're going to buy a bag of soil, and if you look at the ingredients on those bags, they'll say humus.
So like kill people.
Okay?
That's not very nice. Wait, do they kill animals?
So I had a section under my tree house and
You had a tree house?
playground area
You have a tree house?
that I put wood chips, and I hadn't replaced them for about 5, 6, 7 years.
Oh, so it's probably growing.
So what happened to all those wood chips?
We got sucked.
Decay.
They
They
decayed,
move
break
out.
down into the soil, and then I had to scoop that up and lay down more plastic and redo it all. But all of that I scooped up was very what? Very fertile.
Just like my mom.
Whoa.
Oh.
Second layer of soil is the subsoil. Another name for these layers is what? These are also called horizons. Okay? These are also called horizons. So out here in the garden area, when we go out, you know, they're concerned primarily with this top layer, and they're trying to keep that top layer fertile and moist, because you need both. You need the chemicals, but you need water for plants to grow, okay? So we're gonna see some soils would be very fertile, but they're missing what?
Sun.
Human.
Missing
Humus.
water. You need water. And some could be fertile where they have water, but the water's in its wrong state. What would that be?
Dirty
Vapor.
or not clean.
What are the 3 states of water?
Gas, liquid, and
Coke.
yeah.
Solid. So some of it is solid, it's in the form of ice. And so plants can't use it if it's in the form of ice. That's called physiological drought, if you can't use it. Okay? So, then the last layer is called the bedrock,
You can't break them.
or it's called parent material.
Below that is the void. Ow, stabbed
It's
me.
called parent material because that's where all your soil comes from. This gets broken up and it comes up and breaks into there. Now, if you go up in the mountains, they talk about this soil is really thin. So they talk about thick soils and thin soils. So if you go up in the mountains, what's missing?
Soil.
Usually these first 2 layers are missing, and you're right at here.
Then below that.
Can things grow there?
Mhm.
It's more difficult, you know, you'll see the trees growing out of rocks,
That's really
right?
better. That's really good.
But, so it's more difficult. So that's a thin soil. So a thick soil means it has all of these distinct horizons. Now, so podologists, there are 5 types of soils we're going to go over. Chernozem is one. Let's see if I can remember them all. Chernozem, lateritic,
Top and sub.
podzolic. How come they got these weird names? Lucas, how come they got these weird names?
They're Russian.
Because I told you
They're
the
Russian.
system came from Russia,
Я
right?
продал, можешь купить.
You Russians like to fuck
Coldland
with
soils and
vehicles.
desert soils.
More bit. I don't know where this
Okay?
accent is.
These are the 5 zones that the first system came up with.
Did you just say it's
Wait,
British?
go outside.
Wait, what's
And they're
this
based
one?
on, okay, they're based on these
Don't say that.
factors. And it determines whether your soil is fertile or not. Also determines what's going to grow there. That means your climate zone that we had. So I'm saying if you do your climate zone map, and in that climate zone, it'd be good to put what type of soil would be in that climate zone. Because you might see a couple questions on the test like that, over that.
Fortnite soil.
A chernozem is the black fertile soil. That means it's going to have a lot of what?
Blackness.
Humus. Humus. So if you go in western Minnesota and you dig and plant out there, if you've ever seen when they just plowed their fields out here, just west of the cities, you're going to see black soil.
Is that good or bad?
That's good.
It's good because it's very fertile.
Yeah, I'm getting sick of this black ice.
Black what?
So
Ice.
that's why the Midlands or the heartland of America. At one time, we know we studied last year, the settlers went across this land and they said nothing can grow here.
Pretty amazing.
Can't farm here. Why didn't they think you could farm here?
Too cold.
Because they were used to seeing what to farm.
Black.
The type of farming they did was called slash and burn. What'd you do?
Burn everything. Get the purifier.
There's trees all over the place. What do? You cut all the trees down. That's the slash part. Then you what? Burn them. When you burn them, what happens? All the nutrients in the trees goes down in the soil. Then you plant crops. The problem with that system is if you continue to plant, what happens? The nutrients are used up. And then that's the way it works, okay? So they use them up, and then what do? They move on somewhere else. So before development, before we had nearly 7 billion people in the world, that system was a pretty good system because you could move and still have agriculture. Okay? Now, okay, if you don't have those minerals going into the soil, what do? You put them in yourself artificially. What's that called?
Pesticide.
You fertilize, okay?
Cow poop.
What's one of the most important ingredients in soil for
Cow poop. Cow poop.
that plants need? Nitrogen. Nitrogen. Okay?
It's poop. It's like my grades.
That's what's in poo, okay?
He said poo. See, Michelle, we're
3 years ago, that would have been funny.
That's why my eyes are brown. That's what people tell me.
Oh.
Wait,
Because
so
of
you're
poop?
telling me
Because I'm full of it.
if your
I've
eyes
heard
are
that.
brown, then that means you're poop.
When are we going to the
Mr.
Hale.
Okay, so the assignment is finish the chapter. I'm going to give you part of the next class period to finish this review, but you need to have most of it done. Because Monday, then we're going to review for the test. The test over both these chapters is on Wednesday before MEA break.
MEA's next week.
Actually. Wait, what are those called?
These are soil zones. I'll go over more next time. Or if we have time after the garden, we'll come back in. But otherwise, this black fertile soil, this is kind of a reddish orange, this soil. I'll tell you where they belong. This kind of ash colored type of soil. So in your planner right now, take out your planner, write, finish reading chapter 3. Where to go to? Page.
Okay, social studies are last class.
Yeah, we're going to the garden.
Okay.
Read to page 73.
Oh, the garden.
We'll do the 2 and 3 review. I will give you the first 10 minutes of class for any questions you had that we might not have gone
So wait,
over.
what do we need to read?
We have so much
I'll
more.
give you a couple of these.
How is so much what? Are you okay? Why would you be happy that we have?
I said, you get 10 minutes, first 10 minutes, or any few questions you might have that you didn't get done. Because we might have skipped over a couple.
Well,
Are you doing a couple classes? I'll be redoing like most of the experiments.
yeah,